All right, this morning we're going to talk about compressed gas cylinders and the safety that we need to exercise in relation to how we use them. Now, we use compressed gases for various reasons. You may use one personally at home, a gas cylinder to fire your grill, but within the work context, because we're iron workers, we use compressed gases consistently. The most predominant one we use is the oxyacetylene rig, where you have an oxygen bottle and an acetylene bottle. And so there's some safety things that we need to observe in order to make sure that nothing bad happens. It's convenient to have a gas axe rig, a oxyacetylene rig on site, on your truck, in the context where you're going to need to use it for various purposes. Predominantly we use it for cutting, sometimes for heating, but mostly it's a pretty convenient thing to have around. The convenience of having compressed gas comes with a price. We need to store and handle and use them properly, or we can have some pretty devastating consequences. Today we're going to look at some tips for compressed gas cylinder storage, and I want you to consider these things, keep them in mind. First of all, when you store gas cylinders, you need to store them with the cylinder valves in the closed position. Securely attach the cylinder valve caps. Separate the cylinders according to their contents. If the situation is such that you don't have a cart with a firewall in between, then they need to be separated by 20 feet. That's a long ways, but if they're being stored properly and we don't have a firewall between them, then they have to be separated by 20 feet. A non-combustible barrier, at least 5 feet high, needs to be between them, and then a fire-resistant with a fire-resistant rating of at least 30 minutes. We need to identify empty cylinders and store empty cylinders separate from where we're storing full cylinders. When they are in storage, regardless of where we're storing them, they need to be secured so the cylinders can't be loose. They can't just be standing wherever it is that we have them stored. They need to be secured. We need to ventilate all places where we are storing bottles. Then also we need to keep any cylinder storage away from fire and potential electrical hazards, and also ensure that all cylinders are labeled to identify their contents. We can't just trust the cylinder color as identification method for cylinder content. There are various ways that people have identified cylinders in the past, but we need to check and make sure there's a label on there and make sure that they are properly identified. Then any cylinder that does not have a clear identification needs to be returned to the supplier if the label doesn't identify the contents. Store acetylene cylinders upright and avoid dropping or striking cylinders. Those are just some basic safety procedures that we need to observe when we're handling cylinders. I want you to bear those in mind. I'm going to spend time talking in another video about more cylinder safety, because this is an important part of what we do, and it's important that we know how to handle all of these things safely. So take this on board. We'll come back, we'll revisit this subject, and then we'll try to get a good working knowledge among us about how to handle cylinders safely.